For some time now, I have wanted to create a video interview with John Barrymore using AI. I was immediately confronted by two obstacles. The first was strictly a technological one, involved in creating a clone that was reasonably close to Mr. Barrymore's actual voice. There are plenty of sound films, radio broadcasts, and even a few commercial recordings available for sampling his voice. But the technology is still developing, and the voice clones I managed to create just were not close enough to the real thing. My second obstacle was finding interviews from newspapers and fan magazines of the day where I could quote the actor. I had read that Barrymore disliked giving interviews and avoided them as much as possible. This attitude became apparent to me when I began reading them. By turns, he often seemed disinterested, sarcastic, and generally moody. However, I came across an interview in the September 1928 issue of Picture Play magazine that caught him in a good mood. The interviewer, Helen Louise Walker, stated as much at the outset when she said that Mr. Barrymore was a funny man, a very funny man. Indeed, life was good to him at this time, including his upcoming marriage to Dolores Costello. With both of my obstacles solved, I hope you like the results.
People like to come to pictures to be amused and to be made happy. If they are courteous enough to pay 50 cents to see us, then we should in all decency be courteous enough to consider their wishes in these matters. The people who make motion pictures, particularly the ones who profess to know what art is, talk very loudly and earnestly about realism, and this seems to be interpreted, rightly perhaps, as misery and degradation. I feel sure that the people who go to see pictures do not want to see a lot of misery. They can see that at home. Or if perchance they haven't any misery in their homes at the moment, they can see it next door. You wouldn't, pay 50 cents to the people next door to be allowed to go in and gaze on their misery. I'm all for the happy endings, whatever they may be. The thing which seems to be considered a happy ending on the screen is where two people embrace at the end of a picture with the supposition on the part of the audience that they are going to marry and try to live together for the rest of their lives. This, I think, is a very optimistic and altruistic attitude on the part of audiences. I should consider it in most cases the beginning of a very sad story. These people may not be suited to each other. After they are married, they will have to begin dealing with grocery bills, a depressing propinquity, leaky faucets, burned beefsteaks, and trumping one another's aces at bridge, all the unpleasant things which go with marriage. The happiest ending I can remember was the one in Flesh and the Devil, where the lady fell through the ice. It was the best thing possible for both lovers. They had had their great passion, and there would have been all kinds of explosions if two such people had tried to marry and live together. Of course, there was a subsequent ending. Somebody knitting, I believe, and a demure flapper to solace Jack Gilbert's loneliness. But that did not count. The story was over when the lady fell through the ice and the bubbles came up. Of course, if you can really wring tears from people, give them a good, thorough, old-fashioned cry, as Emil Jannings does. That is a luxury which is worth 50 cents. That is making them happy. Romeo and Juliet has a happy ending, really. Two lovers have their great moment and then die. That is rather glorious, even though it would be considered a tragedy on the screen. Of course, the story of that play is an absurd one according to present-day standards. It could not be taken seriously now. In the first place, its initial premise is one that no one in the world would believe today. These two young people obeyed their parents. That simply is not done. One's first impulse is to say, why doesn't this bird, Romeo, get himself a good horse and elope with the lady? And so he should. It is much more difficult to sustain an illusion upon the screen than upon the stage. On the stage, the chambermaid or somebody says, "Here comes the Prince of Denmark." You enter, looking as Swedish as you can. The audience plays the game with you. They pretend for the time being to believe you are the prince. You make a few remarks in a synthetic Swedish dialect and exit. On the screen, you are before the camera almost every minute, at least if you are a star. The damn camera is like an X-ray machine. It shows everything about you, all the things inside your mind. After 2 hours of constant inspection of you, the audience begins to be skeptical. They begin to think, this guy never saw Sweden in his life, and they cease to believe in you. It is very much harder. The camera gives you away. That is why we always have young girls play young girls and old men cast for old men's roles in pictures. You cannot take liberties with appearances. Your stage character is before the audience such a short time compared to the time a screen star occupies the center of attention. Hamlet, for instance, is on the stage more than almost any other character in Shakespeare, and yet his time before the footlights is short, compared to the time he would spend before the camera. I have always thought that Shakespeare liked the chap who played Hamlet, and arranged the play so he could come off stage now and then for a chat and maybe a drink with the author. I like motion pictures so much that I have bought a house out here and am preparing to spend the rest of my life in Hollywood. I am anxious to find a type to play on the screen, something which will strike public fancy and which I can continue to do over a long period. Chaplin, you know, and Harold Lloyd have each created a character the public likes. And they can present this same character in various situations, enduring various vicissitudes, times without number. I should like to do that, but don't think for a moment that it is easy to play one character over and over and make him interesting. Chaplin, I am sure, could play any role he chose to play with equal success. He is a very fine actor. My uncle, John Drew, seemed to play just one character all through his career. He was a capable actor for all that. I hope I can hit upon something similar sometime. I have not always been an actor. I was once a newspaper man and a cartoonist. I'll prove that by giving you a cartoon of myself as I appear in my new film, Tempest.